Hello, I wanted to share with you this time a chart that I developed to memorize easily the 28 pulses in Chinese medicine. This is just the way, a very fun way and short way to remember all the names, the images, and the pulse descriptions based on the book written regarding the TCM pulse diagnosis by Bob Floss. And so here I just put them into categories, like to trying to organize them in an easier way to remember like a differential diagnosis among all the 28 pulses. I sort them by shared characteristics. Like for example, all the floating pulses are here together. So of the 28, we just have 7 that are in this category, but some of these also share another characteristic of another category, like the large pulses. So if you have a patient with a large pulse, you will have this differential diagnosis of only 4 of the 28 pulses instead of trying to remember among all of those 28 which one is the correct one. So here we have 2 tabs. One, and again, this is an Excel tool. I cannot share online because it will delete the formulas, but I can definitely share it via email. So here we have 2 tabs. One is the Learn tab, and then we have the Test tab. So the Learn tab, we have just to memorize at the beginning. It will take a while to upload the images, the pulse images that are here. And then we have just to try to memorize the description of a floating pulse. And then these are the 3 positions. So we have here the description of that pulse. This does not include any indication. This is just to memorize the very beginning, the names and the descriptions of the category, because you cannot find the pulse when you're with a patient if you don't know the description like by memory. This is one of the recommendations in the book by Bob Floss. So the floating, this pulse description is, and this is, again, this is a shortcut. If you want to have the full description, I recommend you to read that book by Bob Floss. So here, this description of the floating, it's a weakening with pressure, but returns when released. And then we do all the same with these other pulses, the 28 that are here. So you can see that some of them share different categories like slow and moderate, and this will help us memorizing them very, very quickly. So when you are done with memorizing this, it took me a few days. Then we go to the test, and then the test mode, the only instruction is try to find the pulse name that turns the box green. So here we have, for example, okay, the floating, we have a weakening with pressure but returns when relieves. So we know that the name of this pulse, it's a floating. So from this drop-down menu, we're gonna pick all the 28 pulses, which one is the correct one, and they are sorted out by alphabetical order. So you can start in the same order, but I recommend you to just do it randomly so you don't get to remember just the way that they're organized by memorization, but you actually know the meaning of that pulse, like the description of that pulse name. So here we have floating, thin and weak, thready and soft. So this is gonna be the soggy pulse. So we're gonna put it here. If we have a floating, soft, large body, and empty center. So as we can see here, we are sharing some of the characteristics with the prior one, the soft and soggy, but this is gonna be the scallion stalk. If you choose one that is not correct, for example, this one, I'm gonna put here, choppy, this is not the correct name, so that's why it is not turning green. The cell needs to turn green. So here I have the floating, hard, large, and empty center. So it's very similar, the description, to the prior one. The only difference is that this is a drum skin pulse because it's hard. The scallion stalk is soft, but all the other characteristics are very similar. The large, floating, and forceless. So here we have in capital forceless. That means that we are with an vacuous or empty pulse. This also is in the same category as large because this is a large pulse. So we have another characteristic that we share if you want to remember like that. And then we just keep continue filling out this. And I just recommend you to go not in order. I mean, at the beginning you can do it in order, but then later on you should do them randomly. For example, we have here deep, fine, and soft. We know this is a weak pulse. Uh, let's pick another one. For example, let's do this one. This is relaxed, weak, and regular. So this is an intermittent pulse, and I put the difference is very similar to the prior one. The only difference is that this one is regular and the prior one is irregular. So the prior one is gonna be knotted here. So here you go. You continue filling out this out until you have all the cells in green. And if you want, we can continue doing them. Large, floating, diffusing disappears with heavy pressure. So this is large, floating, diffusing, disappears with heavy pressure. This is a scattered pulse. A large comes exuberant, departs gently like a wave. So we remember this one as a surging pulse because it surges like a wave. This one is large, full, and wiry. We know this is a full or replete. Replete or full pulse. You can always type in here, for example, if you want to type in the word instead of just selecting, you can do it and hit enter. So in this case, near the bone is deep, deeper than the deep, that is a hidden. Deep, forceful, taut, large, and long. This is a confined or firm pulse. If we have a pulse that is more than 90 to 140 beats per minute, this is a rapid pulse. And I put here rapid or racing because the only difference is just the BPM, beats per minute. So this, or bit, in parentheses, we have beats per breath, which is another way to measure the frequency of the pulse in Chinese medicine. So the rapid and irregular, we have another name that some books give to this one, which is hasty. So rapid and irregular, that is a skipping pulse. 40 to 60 BPM, that is a slow pulse. We have here thin, forceless, indistinct, that is a faint or minute pulse. And we have another one that is very similar. If you can see, the images are very similar. The only difference is the way distinctive. So thin, distinctive, narrow, weak, soft, like a silk thread. So that's a thready pulse. Thin or thready. Smooth, flowing, uninhibited, like pearls rolling on a plate. This is the famous slippery pulse. Unsmooth, moderate, stagnant, I guess like a knife scraping bamboo, that's a choppy pulse. Relaxed and slow when desist, or gentle with moderate tension if normal, that's a moderate pulse. So we can be here. Forceful, long, straight, tense, like a musical string. This is a wiry pulse. Forceful and tense like a twisted rope. This is a tight pulse. Forceful, slippery, rapid. Forceful. That's why it's in this category. Rapid is in this category. So this is a stirring. In the book, they give another description to this one, like a beans on moving like a beans. So stirring. And then we have the one that is only felt on the one position. So that's a short pulse. And then we have the one that is felt beyond the sun and chip position. That's a long pulse. So here you go. We have completed all the 28 pulses in less than 5 minutes. So I hope that this would be helpful for you as it was helpful for me. Again, this is just to memorize the descriptions. Once you got this, you can go ahead and do learn the indications of each of the pulses. That is going to be really helpful in practice. So I'm going to make another one in the future for the pulse indications, but I hope you like this. Bye.